Ahoy there, me hearties. This be Captain Silver Hook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank. Ha ha ha!
Welcome to podcast 51.
51.
We're here again. We did so well with the last one. I was like, man, I don't know if people are going to go ahead and follow us and stuff. We joined.
People come back.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
But, you know, after being off for so long, I didn't know if anybody would be there for us. And, yeah, I think we're near 130 views, which that's our average, and that's good. And, you know, it's working for us. But, so we're back. Vinny, me. You might see something different about our faces.
Yeah, a little bit. Got a little bit of sun. From two different types of exposure. I was mowing grass literally all day.
Yeah.
For hours.
So yeah, his arms and stuff, they're a little red. Didn't you show your hand?
I think.
Yeah. So did you put on anything to protect yourself? SPF anything?
No, because it was overcast.
Yeah, and so even though that it's overcast, we understand that the sun comes through. He's a very intelligent guy.
Yeah.
But we don't think these things out. So I did tennis 3 out of the last 4 days. In a small town called Orange Grove, Texas, which I highly don't recommend going to for fun and excitement. Just tennis tournaments if you're a coach. And yeah, I got burnt. I got nauseous and sick, and I didn't feel good, and I didn't understand that I basically got sick from the sun because, you know, growing up, you always get burnt and stuff. You don't really think anything of it. Now that I'm getting older, it kind of, kicked my butt. So we have some color to
a little
us.
bit. Yeah, it's not makeup.
Yeah.
We didn't just start putting it on.
He's not like embarrassed about something perpetual.
Yeah.
My God!
I mean, technically I am, but I just don't show it. So, but yeah, no. I figured it was what got me is that it was not very hot outside today.
Right.
So that it was overcast and it wasn't very hot. So I was like, I don't need to worry about the sun. And as it turns out, I should have worried about the sun.
So yeah, we're going to talk about a couple different things. One thing I wanted to say is last night I was telling Vinny that I went to go see the Batman with my youngest, and I didn't like it. I could give it a 4 or 5 out of 10. I'm sure some of you out there that might be listening to this or watching this will sit there and say, "Oh man, it was amazing and stuff." It just didn't do it for me.
It's a 3-hour movie though.
It's 2 hours and 56 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
just say 3 hours.
It's a long movie, and it's not long as in keeping your attention for 3 hours. So you might like it. Go see it. I'm not downing it. I'm just trying to say it wasn't my cup of tea.
You have to make an appointment for it though, because it's so long. You got to pencil it in somewhere on your schedule.
But the other thing is, the last movie that I went to go see with my oldest boy, and it was Jackass, the newest one.
Jackass Forever.
And I was telling people about it and stuff, and then Vinny told me that he eventually went to go see it.
Yeah.
And so what was your takeaway from Jackass?
I didn't like it, but then again, I also acknowledge that these people are in their late 40s and early 50s now, so they can't bail off of skateboards and get thrown out of shopping carts anymore like they used to. So instead, all they do in the movie is, for the most part, they just play with their genitals in weird ways for like an hour and a half. And it was very unsettling. I mean, I'm open-minded and all, but I guess it was, dare I say, too juvenile. But then again, I can go back and watch like classic Jackass where Johnny Knoxville, flies out of a shopping cart, and I'll still laugh to that.
Yeah.
That's still funny to me.
When I went to go see with my son, I did not know what we were in for. I knew that Jackass did certain things that were on the cusp of like risque and stuff, but they weren't. And this one, it was there were grown men in the movie theater that you could hear going, "Ooh, ow," and nothing was happening to them, but they saw some of the things that were happening in the movie to the genital area that they really, really focused on in this movie. And I was telling Vinny, I said, one of these dudes is going to get testicular cancer.
Yeah.
They have to. They are hit so often in the testicles. And see, it's funny as a guy, you kind of like laugh at it because you understand that deep pain that you get in your stomach when that happens to you.
And you're also reminiscing about America's Funniest Home Videos, where it wasn't an episode until Bob Saget went, "Oh no!" over a shot of somebody getting a football in the crotch.
Yeah. So it's my students asked me, should I go see it? I said, I highly recommend that you don't go see it, especially if you're with a young lady, because there's a whole bunch of frontal nudity, and there's unless you guys are game for something that adult-like, no, I would not want. And so my 20-year-old he's technically a man, but he's 20, and he was even like, Dad, they're really showing all this, and they're really doing all this damage to each other. And I was like, yeah, these people have nothing else to offer. Yeah. But I still find them more successful and more entertaining than the Kardashians.
Yeah. No, yeah. I haven't seen Kim Kardashian.
Well, I'm not talking about because of that. I'm just saying not expertise, the talent. Although it's pooping in toilets that aren't hooked up to things
and putting salmon around your crotch and letting a bear eat it off.
But I'm saying over all the years, I still think that the guys from Jackass are far more talented than anybody from the Kardashian clan. They actually make people laugh, and the Kardashians are just about fake drama and plastic bodies.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. So yeah, those are two of the newest movies that have come out that I've had I wouldn't say pleasure. But.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't seen the Batman. I'm still on the fence about seeing the Batman, but we've both seen Jackass Forever, and it's a no-go. I mean, I guess even if you're open to like extreme stuff like that, you're still not going to get anything from it because the movie overstays its welcome just long enough to feel like it's gone on for too long, and then it ends.
To switch gears completely,
yes,
we have the whole Ukraine war going on right now.
Oh yeah, speaking of jackasses.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, decided that he would invade the Ukraine under the assumption that he was just going to take the eastern part because there was Russian people that lived there that wanted to become part of Russia again. And there were people here in the United States that were like, I don't see a problem with that. And I try to... As an educator or just as a human being, just talking to people and stuff, I try to educate people on how that would work in the United States. Because where we're at in South Texas right now, this used to be part of what country?
Mexico.
So that'd be like them knocking on the door saying, we want that land back because we have a whole bunch of Mexican people that live there. America would be like, sure, just do it. They'd say, no, we're a country, we're a sovereign nation, we have borders. And the Ukraine has the same thing. But some of the people were like, well, let the Russians take it, it's fine stuff. Not saying that we should get in the war, but they were like, there's nothing really, they're all the same. And the thing is, you can't do that. If you have borders that show where the countries are supposed to be, you can't just say, you can't wake up one day and say, I have a much larger army, I'm just going to overtake this part of this country. He also said that it was for Nazification, that the people that were in the Ukraine were basically like Nazis.
Which doesn't make any sense because the Ukrainian president is Jewish.
So yeah, and he was also a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. A guy who was a stand-up comedian who used to work in like nightclubs telling jokes like, okay guys, I have these 2 cows over here, I'm going to trade them. Yeah, he's the president.
Doesn't make him any less qualified than the jackass we had in office for about 4 years.
Hey-o! So anyways,
yeah, I went there. I don't care. I'll go there.
Yeah, no. If you have the ability to have a reality TV show guy become your president, why not a stand-up comedian? Do you remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger had been governor of California? People said, could he ever be president? Of course he couldn't because he's not an American. He wasn't born here.
He was born in Austria.
So because of that, he could never be president. But the thing is, people back then in the 90s were like, that's crazy, man. You're not going to have somebody just because they're an entertainer become president. And then we did that.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
So we'll see what happens next. Now we have Biden, who people say he's too old, he doesn't know what he's doing and stuff. So we're at a crisscross in America. But I digress. Back to the Ukrainians. The thing, a lot of people, especially during the Cold War, we were always basically under the assumption that the Russian army was this big badass army that could just kick anybody's butt anytime that they want, and people didn't really read their history. You know, the Russo-Japanese War in like 1908 or 1909, the little bitty country of Japan, the island, defeated the Russian Empire. All right, then you go to World War One, and with all the soldiers that the Russians were losing, they left World War One and the Allies in 1917 and dropped out. Then you go to the World War II, and they're being dominated by the Nazis, and the German army's just sweeping through hundreds and hundreds of miles of Russia, and they can't do anything but backpedal and get out of there, and people are surrendering and stuff. And then we send over all these things in the Lend-Lease package with England and stuff, and we also sent, tanks and armaments and stuff, and that kept them alive. And also they just put in massive amounts of troops that died, by the millions, until the Germans just couldn't keep up. And then we went into the Cold War, and everybody's afraid of them, like the Russians are going to come and get us and stuff. I'm like, they get their asses whipped.
Because they have nukes. That's the only problem.
Well, before they had nukes, people were like, the Russians were willing to give up like millions of soldiers, so they'll die to the last. Most countries won't do that, so they must be really badass troops. They must be like awesome troops. And I'm like, no, they lost war after war after war. And guess what? We skip all the way to 2022, and they're getting their asses kicked in Ukraine by like farmers on the street with RPGs, and they have soldiers that are surrendering for bread and tea. Yeah. And it's just it's a shit show the whole way around. Putin, they shut down PayPal today. You can no longer use PayPal anywhere in Russia. Yeah. They shut down the national bank. SWIFT, which is
they've been banned from SWIFT.
Yeah, they banned them from SWIFT. If you don't know what that is, SWIFT is an organization of international banks to where you can go ahead and trade in like yen, ruble, lira, American dollars. They shut that down, so all you have is Russian rubles now that can be bought and sold in Russia. You can't use any other foreign exchange of any other type of money. It's just the stock market went down by 30%, they said, over the weekend and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's just crashing, and the Russian people now are like, hey, why are we doing this in the first place? And he said he was only going to take that right side, the eastern half of the Ukraine, just for the Russian people there. Well, now he's right outside of Kiev.
Yeah, he's coming down from the north.
He's coming down through Belarus and the Black Sea and
Crimea.
Yeah. So I'm like, none of these presidents will do anything because they're always fearful. So the Ukrainian people have taken it upon themselves to defend themselves, and they're kicking ass and taking names. Anyways, we were thinking about different things that we are going to talk about this week, and then it came to me. I wanted to talk about the idea of love. Okay, and like you can love.
Talking about all's fair in love and war.
Yeah, you can love a pet, you can love family members, you can be romantically involved with somebody and have that romantic love. But love to me has just always been a deep emotion in the human spirit for another person. So you can sit there and say you love your parents, and that's a certain type of love, or you love your children, or you love your spouse, or you love your favorite sports team and stuff. But it's just a deep emotion. And I was talking to Vinny about it, because you hear people tell teenagers or young people you can't really be in love because it's not real. And I understand that to a certain degree, because I was young and I was in love, and now I look back and say, was that the same thing that you have later on in life? And it's no, not necessarily. It's no. But the thing is, it's still passionate and it's still real at the time. So for what you do know and for the amount of time that you've been on Earth, it is real. It's a real emotion. So for somebody to tell you it's not real, I don't think it's fair. It might not be as lasting, but that doesn't mean it can't be as intense and for a short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, to that I say, how do you explain so many people who fall in love with their high school sweethearts and marry them? My valedictorian from my graduating class was a friend of mine, and I say he's still alive, but I'm talking about back when we were all in school together. And his girlfriend he had when he was in high school wound up being his wife, and they've been happily married. They have kids now. So just because that was teenage love that they had back in high school, it doesn't make it any less valid. It can still become something more. There's still the potential for it to deepen and become something more.
And I think if it's, I personally, I think if it's between you and another person, or just you and how you feel about something, when he's talking about validity, is that same person who saw those two as 15 or 16-year-olds saying it's not real, is it real now? When you go back and ask that same person, you didn't say it was real then because we were too young to know love, but we've been together 15, 20 years. Is it real now to you? See, and so that means that you have to have it validated by somebody else, when in your heart, if it's fake, then it's not. It's fake because you might be thinking about them, might be a crush or something like that, but to truly love somebody means that you're selfless, that you'll give of yourself, that you're thinking about their needs, maybe even before yours. It's just this deep feeling that you have. And I can one up on Vinny because when I was teaching in a school almost 20 years ago, these two seniors, they were dating, and everybody knew that they were dating. They were probably going to win homecoming king and queen, all this stuff. All the stuff, the storybook stuff that you read. And then somebody said, yeah, they've been going out since 6th grade. And I was like blown away. I was like, what? 6th grade? So, they had already been dating 6 years when I met them in their senior year, as my year at that school. And I was like, man, they've been dating since they were like 11 or 12, and they're 18 now. Those two people are still married. They have 5 children, and they are now 36, 37, something like that.
5 kids.
So the thing is, they've been together almost around a quarter of a century, and they're still going strong. I'm not going to give out their names or anything, or the school or anything, but I mean, I'm still kind of proud when I see their posts on Facebook, because I'm all like, you don't see that. You don't see that a lot, where people that are young, and that's why people say it's not real. Because they're like, if you were real and you were in love at 15, it would last forever. And the thing is, that's not how it works sometimes, because you could be 20 and date somebody for like 6 years and be 26. You're adults, and then it just doesn't work out, and you guys happen to break up. So that wasn't real, those 6 years, because it didn't last forever. Not everything's going to last forever. And so the thing is, the idea that you have to go ahead and be together forever for it to be real love, that's just not fair to people that actually have an affection. And remember, we're mostly talking about romantic love here. You don't stop, loving your parents because they passed away or something. You don't stop loving an animal because that they pass away, or because you get a new puppy. You don't sit there and say, I don't love you any more than that one. It's a deep feeling, and I've always believed that ever since I was a kid and stuff, that when you hear people say you can't really love something because you're too young to understand it, no, that's not right. I mean, Vinny grew up and he loved video games, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not it's a physical object, but it's not an object that can say I love you back. But the thing is, if there's a certain game that he loved, that's a deep feeling that he always had for that game. So if he sees a commercial or he sees an old video about it, he's going to feel the same way as he probably did when he was a kid doing, man, I still love that game.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Road Rash t-shirt tonight, so that's a Sega game where you fight on motorcycles, so I'm just ready. It just all fits together.
And so yeah, when I think about the word love, and we're thinking about a topic tonight, we're going to cover several different things. I thought love should be one of those, because I was talking to Vinny about some of the things that make us all unique, that everybody thinks everybody likes or has seen or listened to or something like that. And I'm like, no, really, I haven't. And my students will freak out on that, and especially friends and stuff. So I know that we haven't even really gone over this. It's just going to be riffing. But is there anything in life that you don't particularly like, that it seems like a lot of other humans or just people that you know or anything like? It could be anything.
I would probably say Star Wars.
Okay.
But now that's with an asterisk after it, because I have seen the original trilogy. And I saw that. I have seen the original trilogy, and I liked the original trilogy.
Did you like the part where Luke passionately kisses his sister? Because I was a 9-year-old boy watching that, thinking, man, who's gonna get with Leia? Is it gonna be Han or Luke? And then when he leans down, that was not a brother-sister kiss.
No.
I don't care what George Lucas said about, I knew what was going to happen all along. That was kind of hot for 1980.
Yeah.
And, that kiss was a little bit too long for brother-sister. And so I don't think, that was supposed to happen that way. But, yeah, so you like the first three.
I like the original trilogy. And then the second trilogy that came out in the early 2000s, from 99 to the early 2000s, I like even less. And then the stuff that Disney has put out since they bought Lucasfilm, I find completely irredeemable and unwatchable. And I know there's people out there that are huge Star Wars fans but are you streaming the new trilogies on Disney Plus and watching them like religiously?
Not every day, but I have watched them.
You have
all
seen?
again. Yeah. That's the reason why I got Disney Plus, so that you could get Marvel and all the Star Wars stuff.
See, I got Disney Plus so I could watch Rescue Rangers. So, and Robin Hood. You guys have seen me wear the Robin Hood shirt on this show before, so you guys know where I stand on matters.
Okay, so he said besides the first trilogy, most of the Star Wars he would consider to be like the equivalent of horse crap.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it.
Okay, I have never seen The Lion King, the animated version.
I was about to ask, animated or the live action?
Yeah, I've never seen
remake?
the live action. Never mind. So when kids hear that, since it's one of the biggest like cartoon movies of all time, they're like, "How could you?" I said, "Well, when it came out, I was 20 or 21, and I would feel really weird if I was going to go into a movie theater with friends or a girlfriend and say, let's go see a cartoon, guys." At the age of 21, it just doesn't sound as robust as it does now with all the Incredibles and Ratatouille and stuff. It was these are still all the hand-drawn cartoons. I'm going to go in and watch The Lion King about...
The Incredibles and Ratatouille are your two go-to
examples. No, I'm just saying.
Those are your examples.
I'm just saying, man. I came up with some. Ratatouille's not bad.
Nobody in their 20s took their date to see Ratatouille. I guarantee it.
Oh, would they take him to go see Rango? That piece of crap?
No.
But, yeah, I didn't see The Lion King, and kids were like, no, you had to. I said, I've never seen it. They're like, do you want to see it? I said, I don't ever want to see it. That's just the way it was. It came out 10 years before I had my first child. So, it was already 10 years old by then. So I'm not like at 30 having a kid doing, I really need to see The Lion King now.
You got Disney Plus. There's no reason not to see it now.
So I have time if I want to. I mean, there's a ton of them that I haven't seen, but The Lion King's a really big one that came out around that time period. I've never seen The Little Mermaid.
You're not missing much.
That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, there's a ton of those, but it really freaks out the kids. Do you have something else? Food, beverage, movie, song.
I would probably say, like the Super Bowl, the concept of the Super Bowl, like all the hype around it, the tailgating, the people who watch it for the ads, quote unquote,
the halftime show and stuff like
that. The halftime show, everything, like the whole encompassing. When I say Super Bowl, I mean everything about it. That's just not my cup of tea.
And this is what's sad. For people Vinny's age and younger, they don't remember that the halftime show when I was growing up was not a special musical performance by Prince or Michael Jackson or the Rolling Stones or Tom Petty or Paul McCartney or any of all these people and stuff. It was usually a college band, and people went to the restroom and peed, and they got beer or they got popcorn. Nobody cared about the halftime show in the 70s and early 80s. It was not how it is now. Now it's an entire performance where people tune in only for that don't like football. They only turn in for and of course it's all lip synced and stuff.
So when was the first time the halftime show became a spectacle? Do you
Jackson.
Remember? It was Michael Jackson?
Yeah, when Michael Jackson had his big performance, I forgot what Super Bowl was that. That's when things kind of turned to where they're like, we need to get big stars. We need to have 15 to 20 minutes of just nonstop action. And they went pure rock and singers. And I remember Michael Jackson's first one, was the one that really turned the key for the Super Bowl in the NFL, where they said we could make a whole production out of this and make tons of money. And the ads were always good, but they changed after the 80s into where it became like must-see ads.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Super Bowl, I do have to agree, they're making it into more. I mean, when you have 5 hours of Super Bowl shows, that's just, we don't need 5 hours.
How much analysis and speculation can you provide for a football game?
And don't forget, that's on every channel.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got their experts on every channel, and they're... So, yeah, I fully understand how... Now, I still like the Super Bowl. I do have to admit, this is the first Super Bowl I did not watch since 1979. I've watched every single Super Bowl since I was 8 years old. I have most of them on video cassettes from the old days. I recorded the entire 3-hour thing.
That's illegal.
I did not watch a moment. I didn't watch a second. I haven't even watched any of the replays. I just, for whatever reason, I just was not into it this year. Okay, so he went Super Bowl. I will say I do not like cheesecake.
Yeah, I don't like
any
cheesecake.
Form of cheesecake. I can't stand it. They're
disgusting.
like, try the chocolate, try this, and I'm like, no. And it's not that I don't like cream cheese. Cream cheese on like crackers or on something like that tastes okay, and then some other things. But in my mind, when I take a bite of a cheesecake and I put it in my mouth, I don't know if it's my sensory, like my taste buds, whatever, but it goes straight to, can you taste it? Can you taste it? And as soon as I taste the cream cheese, I'm like, this is not dessert. This is something that needs to be on a cracker or something. It doesn't make sense to me that it's supposed to be like a cake or a pie or something like that. It's just to me. And there's a majority of people, especially women, and they will disagree with me on this, but I do not enjoy that
Yeah,
whatsoever.
I don't like cheesecake either. You can't make a dessert out of cheese, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's do this. I don't know where Vinny stands on this. I do not use any hair products other than shampoo and maybe conditioner every now and then. When I get in the shower, I just wash my hair, and I get out with an old towel and I dry it, and then I just brush it, and this is what you see. I don't gel it, I don't frizz it, I don't do any of the things that dudes do. These modern what are they now?
Gen Z?
Yeah, the younger people and stuff. Like when I go to
You're
get my hair.
also 50. You're not going to be doing what Gen Z does with their hair.
There are dudes my age that have those little bitty spiked hair things,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
all frosted tips and stuff.
That was from the 2000s.
There's still guys that do crap like that because they're trying to be young, and I'm all like, dude, just be who you be. You know what I'm saying? Be who you be. Are there any fruits that you just don't like?
I don't really like oranges. They're too citrusy. But actually, saying that, I like grapefruits. But
You can't eat them, right?
I can't eat them because I'm on medication.
Yeah, I can't
so-
eat them either because the medication that I take is
forbidden.
You want me to tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
This is a 100% true story, just off the cuff. We're not planning this. We're not planning this. Grapefruits come up. Now it's a story. I was taking a certain medication for my thyroid, and it said I didn't know, and I never ever eat grapefruits or drink grapefruit juice. Nothing. And we were at the store one day, and we were getting some orange juice. And I saw Simply Grapefruit, right? You know,
Yeah.
the bottles.
Simply Orange.
Yeah. So we got the Simply Orange, and the grapefruit's right next door. And so I was all like, okay, I'll take one of these. And I thought, why am I buying this? I never drink this. But I was all, maybe it'll taste tart. And some reason, God said, pick up this bottle. So I picked up the bottle, and at dinner that night, I poured myself a big glass and drank it. And then I took my medicine before I went to bed, and about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and I thought I was literally dying. I was laying on the couch because I had a stomach ache, and I was like, hey, I want to be close to the bathroom in case of it. But I woke up, and I wasn't sure if my heart was beating. I know that's going to sound crazy, but I felt my heart. I felt like very sluggish and very like vertigo almost. And I was like, what's wrong with me and stuff? And I felt my heart, and I couldn't feel like, I didn't hear a beat. I felt like ba-boom, ba-boom. And I was like, is this a dream? I swear on my life, on my children's life, I got up. I didn't want to scare anybody in the house because it was so late. I opened up the front door and went out into the driveway and ran around in a circle trying to make my heart beat faster because everything was so slow and I was so lethargic and I couldn't get my pulse up that I ran around thinking if I run, it'll make my heart beat faster and I'll feel better. I know this sounds crazy. And I went back inside and I checked my pulse on my wrist and it was sounding a little bit better. And I stayed up that night just trying to like run in place or do jumping jacks. I had school the next day. I was extremely exhausted. I called the doctor and I told him what had happened. I said it scared me really, really bad because it didn't feel like my heart was beating as fast as it should. And he said, did you take anything? Well, they asked all the questions. I said, blah, 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 grapefruit juice. And he's all, oh God, you didn't drink that or take any. I was all like, yeah. And he said, look at your prescription. And so, of course, I looked on it. It says, do not take this if you're lifting anything heavy or driving anything heavy. And do not have any form of grapefruit because it could have a severe reaction with the medication that you're taking. So what it had evidently done is it had dropped my pulse rate and my heart, my heart rate down to probably about maybe 35, 40 beats a minute.
Oh, my God.
So it had lowered everything down so much that my breathing, my brain, my heart was just working at like a very low level.
Pretty much.
So since I've already mentioned it earlier in the podcast, I don't like beer.
I don't like beer either.
I don't drink any alcohol, but beer is like the people's most favorite drink or wine, Yeah. People always talk about like vodka or bourbon or rum or something like that. But the most bought alcohol is because it's cheap is probably beer or wine. And the thing is, I've tasted all different types of beer. I did go to high school. I did go to parties. No matter how much of a square you people might think that I sound like, I did indulge a little bit. But I could never taste a beer that just didn't taste bad.
Yeah,
It always, whenever you see somebody drink a beer, this is what it looks like. Man, working hard today. Whew, I worked so hard, blah, 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 da, da. And then they go like this. You know why they do that? Because it tastes like shit.
that wince.
That
the
little wince is because it tastes like shit and they're lying to themselves. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this, if this was a beer, to make them more laid back, relaxed. And they know that the alcohol that's in here will make that, but you have to go through the shitty taste.
But yeah, I don't drink alcohol. I mean, not that I don't drink beer. When it comes to alcohol, I can tolerate like Mike's Hard, whatever,
Lemonade or whatever.
Yeah, well,
I said iced teas.
I said Mike's Hard, whatever, because they make a bunch of different flavors now.
I wouldn't know that. I'm not an alcoholic.
He had Mike's Hard Pear that was in stores recently, and I tried that.
Pear?
It tastes like pear juice. It doesn't taste. That's the thing. It doesn't taste alcoholic at all.
But the pear juice is the stuff at the bottom of the can after you eat the pears that you just pour out because it's in light syrup.
Well, no,
you're drinking that with alcohol added?
I guess they make juice from a pear.
You have a problem, Vinny.
And I had something called like Blumenflucker or something like that, and it tasted like licorice, and it was like hard liquor. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while I would tell a bad joke and I would just take a drink of that, and I actually felt inebriated by the end of the show.
So you were drunk on air.
I was drunk on the air after drinking Blumenflucker. It comes in a big red bottle. It's very ornate and it tastes like licorice. It tastes like black licorice, I should say. So I don't know if there's any black licorice fans out there. But I like black licorice.
Well, imagine tell your friends the next day if you have a headache, they're like, what happened? You're like, I got Blumenfluckered. And I got Blumenfluckered all night.
I did.
And when I get Blumenfluckered, I'm sore the next day.
That was New Year's Eve last year is when I did that. And I've never consumed.
You never Blumenfluckered again.
I've never Blumenfluckered again.
He popped his cherry on the Blumenflucker.
I've had alcohol before and since then, but never to the capacity where I physically felt.
Would you like the Blumenflucker?
Oh, Blumenflucker, good choice.
Blumenflucker. See, no matter how old you are, if you have a sense of humor, you can't let something like that go and just do Blumenflucker.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, it's got a name.
And it's a particularly awesome name to make fun of, but I'm not going to go there because I'm a mature adult.
We couldn't remember the name of it. I showed the bottle onto the camera and we were joking and I was like Snargen Flargen or whatever it's called,
Blumenflucker. Here's another true story.
All right, hit me.
Okay. When they built the Burger King that is no longer there, because it's been about 3 different restaurants in Rockport way back in the 80s. You can talk to my friends. I have it on video somewhere. I'll try to find it someday and maybe put it up on a future episode. One night we were like, why don't we go through the drive-thru in reverse? And they were like, how do you do that? I said, well, we just back it in. So in my truck, I put it in reverse and we backed in so the speaker would be right there where Vinny is, and they ordered the food. And then we had to back in like this, come around the corner, and come up to the window. Well, you can imagine the young lady who's working there, the window, when she opens the window and the passenger door and we're facing forward, she must have thought she had dropped LSD or something like acid, because she's all like, she closed the window and she ran back over and she got the manager and they came out and they're like, what? And I was all like, can we have our food? I'm like looking across the room, can we have our food? I'm really thirsty and hungry. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, we're just going through. And you can't do that. It's against the law. I said, where does it say? It says slow down. It says stop, look for other cars. It doesn't say that I can't go in reverse. They weren't real happy. So we got our food, and I backed through, and I went and I put it in drive and went through. And we did this at Whataburger. We did it at the Burger King. We did it at Dairy Queen. Couldn't do it at Sonic because those damn little slots.
Yeah.
We did this 4 or 5 times. And we're just being teenagers in a small town and stuff. And then one night, my friends were like, hey, let's go back to the Burger King and do this. Well, we'd already pissed off the manager several times. So we start pulling in the same way, and we get to the counter, and she's taking like a real long time for our order. And I couldn't understand why, but then again, I was like 17. I wasn't thinking and stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and like Vinny's my friend, and he's sitting there, and I I see in the rear, which is facing back to the main road. You know, I'm looking back this way. There's cars now coming in that are facing us. Like, they're like, why are lights pointed at each other and stuff? And I'm all like waving at them. And then I see a light go on behind me. And I'm like, and I know it's a cop, right? And I'm like, oh my God. So I turn back, and he's getting out of his car. He's parked behind us, so we can't back out. And we can't go forward because there's other cars. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So he leans in, and he's all like, boys, what you guys doing? And I'm all like, we're just coming through the drive-thru. And he's all like, yeah, but you're in reverse, son. Are you stupid? And I'm all like, no. And then I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should tell him the truth, that we were just playing a practical joke, or if I should lie. So I lied. And I said, my truck was broken and it would only go in reverse. Now, there's a couple things that he could have done. He could have called bullshit on me and made me put it in drive and see if it would not move. But this guy, I guess he was bored, and it was a weekend in Rockport, Texas. So he said, okay, I'll follow you guys home. I'll make sure you guys make it home safe. And I'm like looking at my friend. He goes back to get in his cruiser, and he pulls out and he parks next to us so that we can continue after we get our food. I look at the manager. She's got a shit-eating grin on her face because she's evidently been in contact with the police saying, hey, these teenagers keep coming through the drive-thru in reverse. So they were just waiting for the night that I would screw up and do this. And so they're going to have me come through, and they got me. And so I'm going, and as I start to pull out, I look to my left, and the cops I'll follow you. Just get going home. And there's no cars out. It's a small town Saturday night. And I put it in reverse, and I pull out on Highway 35 to go all the way back to 408 East Bay, my old house. And he follows me bumper to bumper with his lights in mine, and I'm driving like this all the way down the road. And he's doing this, waiting for me to just say, time out, let me just do it the right way, so he can point a finger and say you did it wrong. And I drove the truck all the way home, which is about, I'd say 2.5 to 3 miles, back to my parents' house in reverse, down the old back roads to stay off the highway and stuff. So I went by the old HEB, and went by Maverick Market and stuff, all the way to Market Street. I went all the way back over to the Mexican Park, and then parked it in reverse in the parking lot, and in the driveway, and he passed by and he's all, make sure you guys get that fixed before you use it again, because we can't have you driving all over town in reverse. I was all, yes sir. And we went inside. I didn't tell my parents, only me and my friend knew, and now you guys all know that I was completely embarrassed by the police officer, and the manager of Burger King got me really good. And the weird thing is, about 3 days later, we were out at Memorial Park playing basketball, and I was pulling into Memorial Park, and a cop was coming past me and stuff, and they put on their lights for a second, and I started to slow down, and they came up right next to me, and it was the cop.
Oh.
And he looked, and he's all, everything working good for the truck now? I was all, yeah, we got it all fixed, officer. He's all, good, I'm glad you won't be having to drive in reverse anymore. And so he knew I'd been a butthead and stuff, but that's a God's honest story that I actually used to drive through the drive-thrus in reverse. So all you kids listening to this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It was the 80s, and we got away with a lot more, and now they'll just go and bust you. So
talking about doing dumb stuff with your buddies, it reminds me of the time I used to work at the movie theater in Rockport. The one that was shut down after Harvey, that had four screens. So this was back when theaters these days are all digital, and they just basically have a digital projector. You're basically paying for glorified Netflix these days. But this was back in the era of film and celluloid. So every theater had stairs leading up to the big projector with the big spinning platters with the film on it that you feed into the projector that you have to reset after every damn showing. And I was a film projectionist, and there were two other film projectionists, and we had theaters 1, 2, 3, and 4. And underneath theater 3, you could actually go under there, and that's where we stored all of the candy that we sold at the concession stand. So the Twizzlers, all the M&Ms, the Jordan almonds, all that crap. So we stored it all underneath theater number 3. And there was some of the management at that theater was very inept. It used to be that management had to have knowledge of the projectors, but at this point it had deteriorated so badly that there was just some dumb ditzy idiots and she was just a manager because she knew one of the other managers who gave her a spot. So basically, it was all nepotism. And she knew nothing about how movie projectors work. Absolutely nothing. We would lie to her all the time and get away with it because she would never challenge us. So one time, me and the other two projectionists were all on the clock at the same time, and we told her there was a problem in theater number 3 that required the use of 2 people to help lift and move the film and celluloids that we could reload it into project. We just made some we made some bullshit up. And it turns out for 15 minutes we just sat underneath theater number 3 with the box of Twizzlers. We all picked out a bag of Twizzlers with the box cutter, and we just sat there. We were just eating Twizzlers and just shooting the shit, just wasting time on the clock.
She had no
She
idea.
had no idea.
Hey, this
Turn
guy.
to mulch.
Yeah, watch your.
I'm a wild man, but I
Watch
watch
your daughters.
out.
I'm telling you, drink. What do you drink again?
Blumenflucker
Hey, he's got a Blumenflucker all over the place.
and Mike's Hard Pear.
Yeah, he drinks that hard pear light syrup drink, and he steals pumpkins and places them in odd locations.
I'm a
around
wild
town.
man.
I mean, when he comes to town, you better watch it. Lock
Yeah.
your doors. Lock your wives, and what's the old song by ACD?
Lock up your children, lock up your wife, lock the back doors, and run for your life.
All right, so we hope that you enjoyed this, and we hope that we get another 130 views. And don't forget to share and subscribe. This is episode 51. It's Eric.
51. Eric and Vinny.
So we're back again, and we hope that you enjoy this. And don't forget, let everybody else know about us. And if you like us, send us some things. We got a whole lot of likes and a whole lot of views, but you don't really send us.
Drop us some comments.
Tell us what
what
you want us to talk about. That's the important thing.
We love hearing from you. We really do. We mean that. We know a lot of people say leave a comment below, and then those people just like they never read it. We're a small enough channel. We read the comments that we get. So that actually helps guide what we talk about because we want to talk about what's important to y'all. So let us hear your opinions. We mean that. Leave us a comment. It takes 5 seconds. Just enter, submit, whatever. Click, comment, however, subscribe, whatever. Just click the buttons and do it.
I'm thinking about saying this, a challenge.
Okay.
This just came to me an epiphany. If somebody, I don't know if I should do this.
What?
I don't know. I'm kind of scared to say this. If somebody sends in a comment with a reasonable and good enough topic, then I will take a shot of
Blumenflucker.
Blumenflucker live or on here at the next episode. If you send us in a good topic, I will take a shot of
Blumenflucker.
Blumenflucker. So you might actually see me drink alcohol for the first time in 25 or 26 years if you send a good enough comment of what you'd like us to talk about. If the topic is good enough.
The floor is open. That means I have to go buy a bottle of Blumenflucker again.
So yes, you would have to go and come up with something good, but I will take a shot of
Blumenflucker.
I like that word.
Blumenflucker.
I will take a shot of Blumenflucker. And how would Arnold Schwarzenegger say it?
Blumenflucker.
You take the drink.
Have a sip of Blumenflucker. Blumenflucker is my favorite.
So anyways, we hope that you enjoyed the episode. And if you watched it all this way, which is about 10% of the people that watch it, watch the whole thing, which is kind of cool.
That's good retention.
Yeah.
Better than what I get.
Well, you need to be getting some more.
We must be doing something right.
Well, I guess if we talk about Blumenflucker more,
we'll get 20%.
All right. I hope that you guys are peaceful and you're having a good time and get ready for spring break. And peace.
Yeah, peace out. Good night, everyone.
Take it easy, guys.